Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast, and welcome to your Monday Night Raw post show. Starting off tonight, man, we got Gunther. Gunther comes out to the ring, grabs a microphone. Gunther says that Gunther said AJ made a mistake last week. Gunther then talks about putting Goldberg to sleep and making Cena tap out. Gunther also says that the future is bright for him. He also declares himself for the Royal Rumble. After this, Gunther is quickly interrupted by AJ Styles. AJ has a microphone in hand, says that he is not moving on. Instead, he wants a rematch against Gunther at the Royal Rumble. Gunther then tells AJ no, and that he's moving on to the Royal Rumble. AJ then says that Gunther sounds scared. AJ then says Gunther didn't beat him, but Gunther did tap out like a bitch. After this, Gunther then said last week he proved to be the better wrestler than AJ Styles. There's nothing else left to prove to AJ. But Gunther then says if AJ wants to wrestle him at this year's Royal Rumble, then AJ Styles must put his career on the line. So some interesting stuff there between Gunther and AJ Styles. Moving on from that, we go into our first official match of Monday Night Raw. It is for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. It is Becky Lynch defending the Women's Intercontinental title against Maxine Dupree. Becky comes out to the ring as well as Maxine Dupree, but she's also coming out to the ring with none other than the return of Natalya, who was ringside during this matchup. The match itself between Maxine and Becky was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Maxine and Becky, with Maxine keeping the pace of the match. Maxine then hits a leg drop on Becky Lynch for a near fall, followed by Maxine applying an ankle lock on Becky in the middle of the ring, but the hold is broken. Becky then tries to get some offense in by hitting a superplex into a DDT on Maxine for a near fall. Becky then takes off the turnbuckle pad. Maxine then hits a German suplex on Becky in the middle of the ring, followed by another ankle lock on Becky, but the hold is broken. Becky then hits the exposed turnbuckle. Maxine then goes for the cover, but Natalya stops the pin. Maxine looks confused. She's asking Natalya why. Why, Natty, why? Becky then capitalizes on this by hitting a manhandle slam on Maxine Dupree, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match, and still Women's Intercontinental Champion, is Becky Lynch. After the match, Maxine was left in the ring, but Natalya gets in the ring. She attacks Maxine, and Natalya also applies a sharpshooter on Maxine in the middle of the ring. So it looks like Natalya has finally turned heel and attacked Maxine Dupree. Moving on from that, we have Jey Uso. Jey Uso is standing in the crowd, grabs a microphone. He talks about putting the tag team division on notice. Now, credit, Jey was there last night without Jimmy Uso. And then Jey Uso also declares himself for this year's Royal Rumble. Some interesting stuff there from Jey Uso. Moving on from that, we got a 6-man tag team matchup. It is the Vision, Austin Theory, Logan Paul, and Bronson Reed, taking on Penta, Rey Mysterio, and Dragon Lee. This match, it was a good match. Back and forth matchup between both teams, with the Vision keeping the pace of the match. Logan Paul hits a blockbuster in the middle of the ring, followed by Theory hitting a fallaway slam. Bronson Reed then hits a devastating power slam in the middle of the ring for a near fall. Dragon Lee then tries to get some offense in by hitting a Hurricanrana. Rey Mysterio then hits a Hurricanrana as well. Penta then hits a Penta driver in the middle of the ring for a near fall. Heyman then stands on the apron. He's arguing with the referee. Logan then tosses brass knuckles to Theory, but the referee ends up seeing this. Heyman and Pierce are both arguing ringside. Rey then hits Theory with the brass knuckles, with the referee being distracted. This allowed Penta to hit a Mexican Destroyer, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are Dragon Lee, Penta, and Rey Mysterio. After the match, you can see Heyman, who was ringside, was texting someone after the match. And then Heyman is backstage following after Adam Pearce. He finally gets Adam Pearce's attention. He tells Pearce that Monday Night Raw will miss him, and it won't be the same. Heyman then hands off the phone to Adam Pearce, and it looks like Pearce is on the phone with someone. So it looks like Paul Heyman is up to his old wise man tricks. Moving on from that, we have Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. They come out to the ring. Rhea and Io both have microphones in hand. Rhea talks about Saturday night's main event. She also talks about the history with the Judgment Day. Rhea and Io then both declare themselves for this year's Royal Rumble, but they're both interrupted by none other than Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez. Liv Morgan, who has a microphone in hand, says that she's taking back her women's tag team titles that she's never lost. Liv then says that Rhea is going to turn on Io and that Rhea can't be trusted. Liv Morgan and Roxanne, as well as Raquel Rodriguez, declare for the Royal Rumble. And then Raquel comes out of nowhere and quickly attacks Rhea Ripley. Raquel and Liv and Roxanne then attack Io Sky. Raquel then hits a Tejana bomb on Io in the middle of the ring, followed by Liv Morgan hitting an Oblivion in the middle of the ring. Some interesting stuff there from the Judgment Day. Moving on from that, we got Javon Evans taking on Grande Americano. I thought this was a really good matchup. Back and forth matchup between Evans and Americano, with Evans keeping the pace of the match. Evans then hits Springboard Hurricane Rana, followed by a Springboard Lariat, but the referee sounds for the bell. And your winner of the match is Grande Americano, due to the fact that Evans was not medically cleared to compete in this matchup. Moving on from that, we finally get the announcement that it will in fact be Gunther taking on AJ Styles at the Royal Rumble, where AJ Styles' career is going to be on the line. And we will talk more about this AJ Styles situation towards the end of the podcast. And moving on from that, we go into our main event of Monday Night Raw. It is CM Punk defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Finn Balor. Now, before the match even gets started, Finn Balor comes to the ring with his old school NXT theme, which I thought was absolutely awesome. Hopefully they keep that the same and they don't go back to his other music. The match itself was a really good match, man. Back and forth matchup between Punk and Finn Balor, with Punk hitting a running knee on Finn Balor. Punk was trying to keep the pace of the match, with Punk and Finn Balor both exchanging in the middle of the ring. Finn then hits a Pele kick in the middle of the ring, followed by Punk hitting a superplex on Finn Balor. Balor tries to get up, get some more offense in by hitting a sling blade on Punk. Punk then gets up, hits a GTS for a near fall, followed by Punk hitting multiple elbow drops on Finn Balor. Punk then applies an Anaconda Vice on Finn Balor in the middle of the ring, but the hold is quickly broken. Finn then gets up, tries to get some more offense in by hitting a drop kick, sending Punk into the turnbuckle. Finn then goes to the top rope, hits his signature coup de grace on Punk for a near fall, but Punk gets up, hits a GTS once again on Finn Balor, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match, and still World Heavyweight Champion, is CM Punk. Hats off to CM Punk for getting the win in this matchup. A couple of things I want to talk about with you guys when it pertains to Monday Night Raw before I get the hell up out of here. Number one, let's talk about the elephant in the room. There's two big things that happen on Monday Night Raw, in my honest opinion. So let's start with the first one. Gunther and AJ Styles. Now, this obviously has played out for a while. Not too long, but for a little bit of time now between Gunther and AJ Styles. This all stems from when Gunther beat John Cena and made him tap out. And Gunther, week in and week out, has made it known that he made John Cena tap out like a bitch. Now, this obviously pissed off some talent backstage. Gunther's had interactions with R-Truth. He even had a match with R-Truth. He had interactions with Tozawa and Otis. And he also had interactions with AJ Styles. Now, these interactions between Styles and Gunther led to their match not too long ago. I believe it might have been last week. Where in that match, Styles even said in the promo back and forth between himself and Gunther that he made Gunther tap out like a bitch, but the referee did not see it. This ultimately cost Styles the matchup by Gunther hitting a low blow on AJ Styles and following it up with a power bomb on AJ Styles in the middle of the ring for Gunther to secure the win against AJ Styles. Now we get to this Monday, and Gunther usually says the same old shit every single week, ever since now he beat John Cena. But then we see AJ Styles come out to the ring. And the first thing that Styles said is that he wants a rematch, that he's not done with Gunther. Now, Gunther told AJ Styles blatantly that he is moving on to bigger and better things. He wants to move on to the Rumble, win the Royal Rumble, and once again get an opportunity at the World Heavyweight title. But that all came to a screeching halt from AJ Styles. But Gunther gave him an option. An option where Gunther said that he would face AJ Styles at the Royal Rumble in one and only condition. And that's if AJ Styles puts his career on the line. And then we see AJ Styles backstage. He's talking to Adam Pearce, telling him that he wants the match. But then Pearce is trying to make him realize what's at stake. So Styles then says that he has to call his wife. And then as the hour went on, we see AJ Styles finally make the announcement that he's going to get the match against Gunther at this year's Royal Rumble, where his career is on the line. Now, when this was finally announced, there was a couple things that I was thinking about when this match was announced. Now, we know off rip that AJ Styles' final in-ring, as far as him being an in-ring competitor, this is his final year. 2026 AJ Styles is going to retire from in-ring competition. But as more things have come out to fruition, it seems as if AJ Styles, for a lot of people are telling me that AJ Styles' contract is up around February or March. Right before actually WrestleMania, if I'm not mistaken, because I think WrestleMania is around April 18th, April 19th in Las Vegas. So Styles' contract's coming up. There's my issue with this, and this is one of the issues that I thought about when this match was announced. Number one, Gunther can't lose. And I know some people say, well, Gunther can take a loss, it's not going to affect Gunther. No, Gunther can't take a loss, because if Gunther takes a loss and all that shit that he did with John Cena and what he's been saying for the past couple weeks is going to mean absolutely jack shit. Gunther cannot lose a match until we get to WrestleMania. And I made that blatantly clear after Gunther had beat John Cena at Saturday Night's Main Event and ultimately retired John Cena. Gunther can't lose. But then we get the stipulation of this match between Gunther and Styles at this year's Royal Rumble where Styles' career is on the line. So there's only one or two options in that match that has to happen. Either one, that match either ends in a disqualification or ends in a no contest, or this could possibly be Styles' last match. And Styles is done with WWE. Now, a lot of people also had told me that maybe he will have this matchup and maybe Styles will lose and maybe Styles will go on to wrestle for TNA for the remainder of the year. There's always that option. There's also been options possibly about AJ Styles entertaining the idea of going over to AEW. Honestly, I don't think that's going to happen. Could I see him working with TNA? Yeah, I could see AJ Styles doing something with TNA due to the fact that he pretty much helped make that place what it was. The fact that we saw AJ Styles on the debut episode of TNA on AMC where he was staring down Frankie Kazarian's, at the time, Frankie Kazarian's TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Would I be shocked if Styles made a return to TNA to round out his career? No. But what I am shocked also with this is that we're doing this match at the Royal Rumble. This match between Gunther and Styles where Styles' career is on the line. We're doing it over in Saudi at the Royal Rumble. In my opinion, with a match that's this caliber, and the fact that AJ Styles' elaborate career that he's had, a fantastic career, could possibly come to an end at this year's Royal Rumble, it's honestly mind-boggling to me. I don't understand why WWE is not entertaining the idea to maybe extend Styles' contract by another month or two so we can get Styles at this year's WrestleMania. And he can retire at Mania this year. It's the biggest show of the year. I don't understand what the narrative is of having him have this retirement match possibly at the Royal Rumble over in Saudi. Which, if I'm not mistaken, from the tickets that they're selling, I think it's only holding 6,000 people. I mean, not for nothing, AEW is close to pulling those numbers at certain events. So, I mean, again, I don't know, to be honest with you. And that was one of the biggest takeaways from Monday Night Raw last night was, how is this going to play out? How is this going to play out between Gunther and Styles? Is Styles actually going to have his last match at this year's Royal Rumble? But I also started to think about this too, is that it is kind of bittersweet, and it does somewhat make sense of this match happening at the Rumble, because if we all remember, Styles made his debut for WWE at the Royal Rumble. So you want to talk about coming full circle with Styles and the possibility of Styles having his last match at this year's Royal Rumble, the same event that he debuted for when he debuted for WWE. So I don't know, bro. It's one of those things where it's going to be one of those matches where you really can't pick a winner out of this match. But like I said, at the end of the day, I can't see Gunther losing right now. I think Gunther shouldn't be losing or lose a match until we get to WrestleMania. And Styles, having him lose to Gunther at the Royal Rumble and he's done, it's crazy to me. So to me, I mean, yeah, if there was some kind of bullshit finish where it was a no contest, then yes, that would make sense. And maybe they'll push this to WrestleMania. And we'll do a third match between Gunther and Styles at WrestleMania. But I know that WWE is seemingly pushing this narrative that Gunther is this guy who is retiring superstars and legends. Whether it's Goldberg or now it was John Cena. And now Gunther has his sights set on retiring AJ Styles. So clearly, WWE and the powers that be are writing this narrative that Gunther is the guy to retire superstars. So is this the same motive that we're going to have with this matchup between Gunther and AJ Styles in about 2 weeks at the Royal Rumble? It is concerning, to be honest with you. It is very concerning. Because I would at least thought that maybe WWE would have gave Styles a send-off at WrestleMania. But the people that I've talked to, they're like, bro, it makes perfect sense for them to have his retirement match and maybe Styles to lose this matchup at the Royal Rumble, the same event that Styles had debuted for WWE in. There's a lot of nostalgia between AJ Styles and the Royal Rumble due to the fact that he debuted with WWE at the Royal Rumble. So it's kind of, full circle for AJ Styles. And I didn't really think about it until yesterday, and I was like, damn, it does make sense. Gunther losing right now would literally destroy all this shit that he's trying to do right now, with him being the biggest heel. Now, AJ Styles beating Gunther, yeah, it would obviously he wouldn't be done with WWE at the moment, and yeah, it would put AJ Styles immensely over because Gunther hasn't lost a match yet. And it would put Styles immensely over with beating Gunther, and Styles probably would become the biggest babyface in the company if he were to beat the likes of Gunther. But again, bro, it's hard for me to really, understand the logic of Gunther possibly losing this matchup. I think it would destroy the entire motive of what Gunther is trying to do here, or what WWE is trying to do with Gunther, with him being this, this guy that people faced for the retirement matches. He put Goldberg on the shelf, he's done, and he also retired the GOAT, John Cena. And now we're in the conversation of Gunther possibly retiring AJ Styles. So, I don't know, bro. I just feel like the mantra around Gunther right now is the fact that he's retiring superstars. So having AJ Styles come in, and then especially putting his career on the line for this matchup, man, it's going to be very telling to see how this match is going to play out at this year's Royal Rumble. Other big elephant in the room that I want to talk about as well is Paul Heyman and Adam Pearce. Number one, I love the fact that Adam Pearce is involved in this whole Vision storyline, especially ever since what Braun Breaker did to Adam Pearce by basically them damn near pretty much fist fighting in the middle of the ring. I love the fact that we have Pearce involved in this storyline as well as Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman, I've said it once and I'll say it again, I'll probably say it to the end of time. Paul Heyman has one of the best minds of the business. His creative is unmatched, bro. Paul Heyman has a lot of great ideas. And the fact that we've seen Heyman, or at least I've seen Heyman, after the matchup between the Vision, Dragon Lee, Rey Mysterio, and Penta, you can see Paul Heyman texting somebody on his phone. Now, who that was, I don't know. Could it be Braun Breaker? Could it be Triple H? Could it be The Rock? Could it be Chris Jericho? I don't know. Could it be, who knows who the hell it is. But then after we see Paul Heyman text whoever this individual was, Paul Heyman gracefully hands over his cell phone to Adam Pearce after Heyman makes this statement that Monday Night Raw will miss the likes of an Adam Pearce on Monday Night Raw. So who the hell was on that cell phone in that call with Adam Pearce? And is this something where maybe they're entertaining this idea of pretty much trying to write this story where Adam Pearce is going to be kicked off Monday Night Raw after what him attacking or putting hands on Braun Breaker first? This might ultimately cost him his job being general manager on Monday Night Raw. So I'm loving this storyline, bro. I think what Paul Heyman and the Vision are doing right now is absolutely fantastic. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say this just like I did the last time. If Jericho is, in fact, on his way back to WWE, I would 100% entertain the idea of Jericho being in the Vision. 100%. Having that veteran leadership in that stable and having Jericho a part of one of the biggest storylines going on right now in all of professional wrestling, I would 100% have the idea of putting Jericho with the Vision. 100%. Because at that point, you can have Jericho versus Seth Rollins. You can have Jericho versus CM Punk. You can have Jericho versus LA Knight. All these guys that the Vision had once at a time attacked, Jericho can come in and now have these matches now that he's a part of the Vision. And come in as this egotistical heel, this pain-in-the-ass prick that comes in and just runs roughshod with the Vision on Monday Night Raw. I think that would fit absolutely. It would fit like sliced bread, bro. It really would. And so, again, who knows who was on that phone call with Adam Pearce backstage on Monday Night Raw last night. So it's very telling to see how things are going to play out. It's going to be very interesting to see how Monday Night Raw next week plays out. And hopefully we get some kind of rebuttal from Adam Pearce on who, in fact, that he was talking to on the other line of that cell phone call. So there's also that. Other thing I want to talk about, too, is Becky Lynch and Maxine Dupree. I'm going to tell you guys right now, man, and I said this in my SmackDown review, and I want to continue to keep saying this. I'm hoping that this shit between Becky Lynch and Maxine Dupree is actually done. This is like the 6th or 7th time that these two had faced off, and honestly, it's getting boring and boring and boring every single time they compete. Becky Lynch, she's a great wrestler. She's a great superstar. Maxine Dupree, man, it felt like watching slow-mo wrestling last night. It's just very generic, very green as grass shit. And I'm done with it, bro. I am absolutely done with it. I pitched the idea last week that Becky Lynch needs to be in some kind of program or storyline with AJ Lee. And I know that AJ Lee is on a very, very limited part-time schedule with WWE. We had not seen her compete since Survivor Series at War Games in November. And before that, it was WrestlePalooza, where she was teaming up with CM Punk to take on Rollins and Becky Lynch. So again, her schedule is very, very limited with WWE. But that's the next phase, I think, for Becky Lynch is AJ Lee. There's obviously some unfinished business there between AJ Lee and Becky Lynch. Now for Maxine, now we have an issue with Maxine and Natalya, because Natalya finally returned to Monday Night Raw last night, and she ended up turning heel and attacked Maxine Dupree. Now, there was other ways they could have gone about this, too. I mean, Natalya's been out for quite some time, but she's also wrestled on some independent shows and GCW under Natty, this new old-school persona for Natalya, this more in-your-face mentality that Natalya had. Now, I was hoping that they brought that back for Natalya if she returned to Monday Night Raw. No, we got the same Natalya, except for Natalya turned heel. I think a lot of people would have been more thrilled and excited for the return of Natty and not Natalya. And hopefully they entertain that idea, because I think a lot of people, even though she's turning heel, I don't think it's really going to work out for Natalya. I really don't. I think a lot of people are actually tired of seeing Natalya. I think a lot of people, even though she's turning heel, I don't think it's going to benefit Natalya turning heel like it benefited Bayley at one moment, and especially Naomi. It benefited Naomi 100,000,000%, bro, when she turned heel. So much so that it got her to the women's world title. And I think Naomi turning heel was one of the best things that she's done in her career. Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And it really revamped her career when she turned heel. I don't think we're going to get the same reaction or same feeling here with Natalya turning heel. So, again, that was kind of a letdown last night, and obviously it looks like Maxine and Natalya are going to be in some kind of storyline, some kind of program here. But as far as Becky Lynch, that match with AJ Lee needs to happen. It needs to happen. So hopefully she can come back, and we can get some kind of matchup here between AJ Lee and Becky Lynch. But like I said, man, there was a lot that happened last night. We had Javon Evans with a scare for a lot of fans at first. He wasn't medically cleared to finish the matchup against Grande Americano. Something happened with his shoulder. But news came out that he was okay, that it was pretty much just a stinger. He's going to be okay. He's able to compete next week if they decide to use Javon Evans in a match. So thank God that he's not fully on injured, and he's able to, he's medically cleared. He's able to compete once again, so that's great news. Like I said, the six-man tag matchup between the Vision, Penta, Mysterio, and Dragon Lee was also a solid match. Jey Uso declaring himself for the Royal Rumble. It was ironic not seeing Jimmy there as well, so I don't know. Jimmy's also going to declare for the Royal Rumble. Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, they declare for the Royal Rumble. They got a tag team matchup at Saturday Night's Main Event against Judgment Day, Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez. So again, I mean, things are starting to ship up, man, and shape out. I mean, obviously we are on the road to the Royal Rumble. Obviously the Royal Rumble is the first stop on the road to WrestleMania. It's one of WWE's big top 4 events of the year, and it really sets the tone and the precedent of where we're going leading into WrestleMania. So a lot of people are excited for the Royal Rumble, myself included, because after the Rumble, things start really picking up pace for WWE, especially when they're on the road to WrestleMania. And WrestleMania is the grandest stage of them all, man. It is the Super Bowl of professional wrestling, year in and year out. So hopefully we do get some intriguing storylines going into the Rumble and coming out of the Rumble that hopefully are intriguing enough to get us to WrestleMania. And I think WrestleMania is going to be one of those oddball WrestleManias this year. I mean, I don't think nobody truly knows what's going to happen. Whether it's, Roman Reigns and what he's going to do, or Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre. I mean, really nobody knows. Brock Lesnar. Nobody really knows what is going to go down at this year's WrestleMania. Right now, it's all pretty much in flux at the moment. And like I said, until we get to the Royal Rumble, that's when we start seeing things start to unravel, and we see the direction of where Monday Night Raw and SmackDown is going, leading us to the road of this year's WrestleMania. But as far as Monday Night Raw is concerned, man, it did not disappoint. I thought it was a really good show. It could have been better, obviously, but it was not a bad show, to say the least. I'm intrigued to see where they're going to go here with this whole Adam Pearce and Paul Heyman situation. Hopefully we get some kind of insight on who was the other person on the other line of that cell phone call with Adam Pearce. So that's definitely interesting. We also see Natalya return and ultimately turn her back on Maxine Dupree. So hopefully we see how that plays out as well. And then this whole situation between Gunther and AJ Styles, man, where now AJ Styles is literally putting his career on the line to have one more matchup against Gunther, where Gunther could possibly retire not just Goldberg and John Cena, but ultimately the likes of the phenomenal one, AJ Styles, at this year's Royal Rumble. So it's going to be very telling to see how this whole situation plays out between the likes of Gunther and AJ Styles. But with that being said, though, this is my review of Monday Night Raw. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.